It's a beautiful June evening in 2006. We're setting out from Eiffel Tower Port to see the sights and the lights. This evening cruise is just one of the highlights of a holiday trip for a party of waterway enthusiasts from Britain. The Seine seems to carry even more tourists in the evening than by day, as dining and sightseeing may be combined. Ashore is Champ de Mars station of the express metro. Once the gravel barge has passed, we'll turn downstream to begin a circuit of the island of Swans. We're being overtaken by a barge conversion from the exclusive side of the dining cruise business. Corporate hospitality, maybe. So now we're turning past the replica Statue of Liberty at the lower end of the island. They can't be doing it for money, perhaps it's a rehearsal. Once under the bridge of the express metro, we'll be back at our starting point, the temporary moorings for visiting pleasure craft called Eiffel Tower Port. One wonders what proportion of this one's energy consumption goes on the lighting. Seems all wrong, showing green on the port side. Another small select group, apparently in a hurry. Orsay railway station, which became an art museum. Opposite is the world-famous Louvre collection. Another bateau mouche, illuminating, in this case, the tented settlement of the homeless. How they must hate the brash intrusion. A long way from home, maybe, but Louisiana was a French colony. Passing now the start of the narrow channel behind the Ile de la Cité. The jerky picture is due to the use of the camera's most sensitive night mode. Despite the name, the oldest of the Paris bridges, and now the best illuminated. Approaching now is the river section with alternate traffic flow. We must await the green light up on the bridge before proceeding. Beyond the bridge, the Hôtel de Ville, Paris City Hall. Following the main route, we turn to pass between the two islands. One of 3 auditoria excavated from the riverbank beside the Sorbonne University. Now for the concrete mixing works. Receiving their material by water must help reduce road congestion. We shall soon moor by the mouth of the River Marne. Tomorrow we'll explore a different waterway. Next morning finds the group at Bassin de la Villette in the northeastern inner suburbs. While we await the scheduled start of this public trip, an empty 350-ton barge enters the top lock of Canal Saint-Martin, to which we shall shortly return.
Welcome aboard. This boat, Marcel Carnet of the company can remind you. Qui fonctionne avec un système hydraulique. Vous pourrez the barrier just close.
As we approach this automated lift bridge, work on the site alongside is well below water level.
Dernier bâtiment, l'ancien de la village de la Villette.
This now is the spacious junction with Canal Saint-Denis, a 4-mile shortcut with 7 locks, starting from the Seine 30 kilometres, 18 miles below central Paris. Ahead is the start of the Canal de L'Ourcq, the grounds of the Cité des Sciences, part theme park, part exhibition to popularise science on a former industrial site. "20 miles further on, the canal follows the River Marne. It was used to supply fresh water for the expanding city, and this is how it was achieved. The small difference in height provides the water pressure to turn this huge wheel. The big wheel turns a shaft which passes through the wall to drive pumps in the next room. The installation was built in the 1860s to raise water 12 metres, 40 feet to the canal. Although the historic water-powered pumps can still be demonstrated to visitors, today's water supply to the Canal de L'Ourcq is normally by electric pumps. The trip boat completes its 3-point turn back towards central Paris. The trip boat's request stop is in the style of a Paris bus stop. Originally for a freight railway, this now serves only as a footbridge. In the canal's heyday, this basin was busy with barges of agricultural produce for the city's markets. The barges were hauled by horses, or more often by mules, and occasionally by the barge family themselves. We're entering the first of 4 double locks, sited quite closely together. The first lock chamber is full, the second is empty. Running water from the upper lock to the lower allows us to move on when a level has been reached. Once in the lower chamber, the middle gates are closed and we may descend again. A floating bollard, it descends as the lock empties. As the gates open, the guide cautions us to remain seated. Trains of elevated Metro Line 2 cross behind us. The separated world of the canal towpath seems ideal for the tents of the homeless unfortunates of a large city. The firm's other trip boat approaches us now. At this point, the Gare de l'Est is only about 300 yards along the street to the right. In the pound between this and the next pair of locks are two swing bridges, so at least one is always open for road traffic. When first built, this canal was on the ground surface, or close to it, for most of its route. Despite numerous swing bridges, the traffic delays were intolerable. So the next 2 kilometres of the canal were rebuilt into a tunnel. The bottom lock leads immediately into the tunnel, so we shall find that close inside it widens considerably to permit upgoing craft to moor while waiting. The wide part of the tunnel also provides a secure mooring for workboats. Being close to the surface, many openings were made for light and ventilation. The newly created land above the tunnel became the Boulevard Richard-Lenoir, with gardens along the centre. Projected rainbows relieve the monotony for the tourists. We emerge from below the platforms of Metro Line 1 at Bastille Station. This Bassin de l'Arsenal is the city's main pleasure boat mooring. At this end of the basin is the final lock leading to the Seine. On the skyline is the Bastille column, which we passed directly beneath while in the tunnel. Only 28 miles in a direct line, 45 kilometers from central Paris, but 70 km by the Serpentine River, is the bargeman's town, Conflans Ste Honorine. Flags are out for the annual festival of the inland waterways fleet, the Pardon de la Batellerie. Barges formerly moored along Conflans waterfront to await work assignment, but there are now more of these 350 tonners than available cargoes, so many have become houseboats. Conflans has an important waterways museum with 2 historic vessels moored nearby. Jacques, built in 1904, is the oldest French steam tug still afloat. Fitted in among the stalls of the regular market, an exhibition of waterway models. This busy scene reminds us of the electric towage of the old dumb barges. The tunnel tug was powered from tramway-type overhead wires. An enlarged canal lock crowded with commercial traffic. A modern push-tow of 2 large barges stacked high with containers. We're leaving now on a short tour past the waterfront of Conflans Ste Honorine. Best seen from this side, Triton 25 is the other historic ship. Built for hauling barges, her bow was later adapted for pushing. In contrast, Mouche is a modern push tug. To the right of Saint-Maclouz Church is the building housing the Waterways Museum. Their historic tugs are moored below. There go the fire brigade, showing off their speedboat. There's 6 dumb barges in this tow. Now that is economic, as only the pusher tug is manned. That's a bunkering barge, coming alongside the pusher to refuel her. Now we're approaching Andressy. The ferry to the Ile de Nancy, which lies between us and the river's main channel. We're now turning into the River Oise. This is the way to the waterway networks of northeast France and to those of Belgium and the Netherlands. Weekend engineering work above us, just like a railway system we know well. No time, unfortunately, for more than a token visit to the Oise, so we're turning back towards the Seine. The town's name, Conflans, means confluence, where the rivers meet, and that's why it's so important in the world of the waterways. The long vessel beside the bank is the floating church of the barge people. We shall return to it presently. A close view of the bunkering barge. Distinguished by a red line round the hull is the Fire Brigade's mothership. Next we'll visit the floating church. Named Je sers, meaning I serve, the floating church was converted from a coal carrier. Inside, the former hold is divided into a meeting hall and the church itself beyond, where a baby is being christened. Outside, a crowd is gathering as the fire float leads the procession of craft arriving from Paris. It's the start of the day's ceremonies. Dignitaries are arriving, by water, naturally.